The diplomatic station floated in the darkness between stars. It was called the Harmony Accord, and it was the place where new species came to meet the old ones. Today, humanity would face its greatest test. Park stood at the viewing window and watched the alien ship approach. It was beautiful in a strange way. The vessel looked like a giant silver insect, with long wings that caught the light of distant suns. She had studied them for months, but seeing their ship in person made her heart beat faster. "They are early," said from behind her. He was her security officer, a tall man with kind eyes and quick hands. He did not trust aliens. He did not trust anyone who was not human, but he trusted, and that was enough. "They are eager," replied. 80 years we have been traveling among the stars. 80 years, and this is the first time an elder species has asked to meet us officially. They were ancient. They had been flying between galaxies when humans were still learning to make fire. They were known for many things, but one thing made them special. They could read minds. Had been told not to worry. The mind reading was simple, painless, and quick. Every new species went through it. They used their gift to check if newcomers were peaceful. It was like a test that everyone passed. There was nothing to fear. Still, she felt something cold in her stomach as the alien ship connected to the station. The meeting room was large and white. Stood with her team. Was at her right side, his hand never far from his weapon. Behind them stood their medical officer and 2 junior diplomats whose names kept forgetting because she was so nervous. The door opened with a soft sound. They were tall and thin. Their skin was pale blue, almost silver in the light. They had 4 arms and large black eyes that seemed to see everything at once. They moved like dancers, smooth and silent. The first one to enter was their ambassador. Had seen pictures but was more impressive in person. They wore robes of deep purple, and when they spoke, their voice was like music. "Welcome, humans," said. "We have waited long to meet your kind." Bowed her head in the way she had practiced. "The honor is ours, ambassador. Humanity is grateful for this chance." Made a gesture that might have been a smile. It was hard to tell with alien faces. "You are young. Your species has only just begun to walk among the stars, but we have heard interesting things about you. Your ships are crude but brave. Your people are weak but determined. We wish to see for ourselves." Shifted beside. She could feel his anger at the words crude and weak. She touched his arm gently, telling him to stay calm. "We are eager to learn," said, "and to prove ourselves." "Then let us begin," replied. They turned and gestured to the door. They will conduct the seeking." Entered the room slowly. They were younger than, smaller too. Their eyes were bright with curiosity, and they looked at the humans the way a child might look at a strange new toy. "Greetings," said, their voice was softer than "I am a seeker. I will touch your mind and see your truth. Do not be afraid, it will not hurt." Nodded. She had been prepared for this. "I understand, I am ready." Walked toward her. Their 4 hands were pale and delicate, with long fingers that seemed to glow faintly. They stopped in front of and looked into her eyes. "You are the leader?" asked. "I am." "Good. Leaders hold the truth of their people. If I understand you, I will understand humanity." Took a deep breath. She thought about her training, about all the things she had learned. She thought about Earth, about blue oceans and green forests, about cities filled with laughing people. She thought about her team, about its loyalty and its gentle smile. She thought about her brother, who had died when she was young. She thought about the pain that never fully went away and the love that lived alongside it. Raised one hand and placed it gently on its forehead. At first there was only silence. Felt a strange warmth spreading through her mind like sunlight on a cold morning. It was not unpleasant. She could sense moving through her thoughts, touching memories like someone walking through a garden. 1 second passed, 2 seconds. Then everything changed. Made a sound. It was small at first, like a gasp of surprise, but then it grew louder, sharper, until it became a scream. It was a terrible sound, full of pain and fear and something that might have been madness. The young seeker stumbled backward. Their hands flew to their head, pressing against their skull as if trying to hold it together. Their eyes were wide, wider than should have been possible, and filled with a horror that could not understand. Rushed forward, catching the younger as they fell, but did not respond. Their body went limp, their eyes rolled back, and they collapsed completely. They lay on the floor of the meeting room, not moving, barely breathing. For a long moment no one spoke. The silence was heavy and terrible. Had his weapon drawn, though he did not know what to point it at, was already running forward with her medical kit. The junior diplomat stood frozen in shock. Had not moved. She stood exactly where she was, her hand still raised to where had touched her. She felt the same as before. Nothing had changed inside her. She did not understand what had happened. Looked up from where they knelt beside. Their large black eyes were fixed on, and for the first time there was something in them that looked like fear. "What did you do?" whispered. "Nothing," said. Her voice was steady, though her heart was racing. "I did nothing. I simply let them read my mind as you asked." "That is not possible." His voice was shaking now. "The seeking has been performed 10,000 times on 10,000 species. Never has this happened. Never." Knelt beside, running her scanner over the unconscious alien. "They are alive," she reported. "Vital signs are weak but stable. It looks like severe shock, but I cannot say more without proper equipment." "What are you?" asked again. They were looking at as if seeing her for the first time, as if seeing something they had never imagined could exist. Shook her head. "I am human, that is all I am. I do not know what went wrong." But somewhere deep inside, in a place she did not fully understand, wondered. She thought about all the things that lived inside her mind. The joy and the grief, the hope and the fear, the love and the anger, all of it tangled together, all of it burning bright. Perhaps, she thought, we are more than we know. Perhaps we are more than anyone knows. Lifted carefully, cradling the young seeker in their arms. Before they left the room, they turned back one last time. "What are you?" they asked for the third time. And standing alone in the white room with her team, had no answer to give. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft sound of machines. Lay on a bed designed for bodies, surrounded by glowing screens that showed numbers could not understand. The young seeker had not woken up. It had been 6 hours since the incident. Stood outside the medical bay, watching through a window. Beside her, kept his hand near his weapon, ready for trouble that might never come. Behind them, spoke softly with the senior physician who had arrived an hour ago. "I have never seen anything like this," was saying. Their voice was calm but could hear worry underneath. "Is a strong seeker, one of our best young ones, for them to fall like this. It should not be possible." "What exactly happened to them?" asked. Was silent for a moment. They looked through the window at their 4 hands pressed together in what might have been prayer. The closest word in your language would be drowning. Drowned. Drowned stepped forward. In what? There was no water. "Not in water," said slowly. "In thought, in feeling, in everything." They turned to look at. "What lives inside your mind, human? What did find there?" Shook her head. "I do not know. I felt them enter my thoughts. It was warm, gentle, and then they screamed. I did nothing to hurt them. I would never hurt anyone." Studied her for a long time. Their black eyes were impossible to read. Finally, they said, "I believe you did not mean harm, but harm was done all the same. We must understand how." A door opened behind them. Entered, followed by 2 guards. The ambassador looked tired. Their purple robes were wrinkled and their movements were slower than before. "The humans will be confined to their quarters," announced. "This is not an arrest. It is for everyone's safety, including your own." His hand moved toward his weapon. "You cannot do this. We came here in peace. We did nothing wrong." Said softly, "Stand down." He looked at her with frustration in his eyes, but he obeyed. His hand fell to his side. Faced, we will cooperate. We want answers as much as you do. But I ask that you remember we are not enemies. What happened was an accident. His expression did not change. Perhaps, perhaps not. Until we know more, you will stay where we can watch you. They paused, then added in a quieter voice, I do not think you are evil, Park, but I also do not understand what you are, and things I do not understand. They frighten me. The human quarters were comfortable but small. There were beds for each team member, a table for eating, and windows that showed only the darkness of space. The door was locked from outside. Sat by the window, staring at stars that did not care about the troubles of small creatures, paced back and forth like a caged animal, sat quietly, reading medical reports on her tablet. This is wrong, said for the 10th time. We should fight, we should demand to speak to the council. And what would we say? Asked. We do not even understand what happened. It was not our fault. Was it not? Turned to look at him. Something in my mind hurt, something in me caused them to collapse. Whether I meant to or not, I was the cause. Stopped packing, he looked at her with soft eyes. You are not a weapon, you are a person, a good person. Whatever happened, it was not because of anything bad inside you. Smiled sadly. Thank you, but good intentions do not always prevent bad outcomes. She turned back to the window and thought about. The young seeker had seemed so confident, so sure of themselves. They had touched thousands of minds before. They had seen thoughts and memories from dozens of species, and yet something in his mind had broken them. What did they find? She wondered. What did they see? She closed her eyes and tried to remember the moment of contact. She remembered warmth. She remembered feeling moved through her thoughts like a gentle visitor. And then, chaos, but not from herself. In that brief moment had felt everything at once. Every happy memory and every sad one. Every hope she carried and every fear she hid. The love for her family and the grief for her dead brother. The pride of her achievements and the shame of her failures. All of it tangled together, burning bright. For a human, this was normal. This was what it meant to be alive. Every person carried an ocean inside them, full of waves and storms and hidden depths. But for someone who had never felt such things, it must have been like stepping into a hurricane. 2 hours later came to speak with them. The physician entered alone, without guards, which took as a good sign. Is awake, said. They are weak, but they will recover. Relief flooded through. Thank the stars, I was so worried. Nodded slowly. They have told us what they experienced. It is difficult to believe. Please, said, tell us. We need to understand. Sat down at their table. Their 4 hands rested on the surface, fingers tapping nervously. When entered your mind, they expected to find something simple. Human brains are small compared to ours. Your species is young. We thought your thoughts would be like a shallow pool, easy to cross. And what did they find instead? An ocean, said quietly. Not just one ocean, but many. Layer after layer of thought and feeling, all moving at once, all crashing into each other. Tried to read one thought, but 100 others pulled them deeper. They tried to feel one emotion, but 1,000 more drowned them. Leaned forward. Are you saying human minds are more complex than you expected? More complex. Let out a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a cry. No, that word is too small. Your minds are not just complex. They are chaotic. They are impossible. You hold grief and joy at the same time. You feel fear and courage together. You remember pain while hopping for pleasure. Everything exists inside you at once, fighting and loving and screaming and singing. Looked at with something new in their eyes. It might have been wonder. It might have been terror. Minds are ordered, they continued. One thought at a time, one feeling at a time, everything in its place, everything under control. That is how we survive. That is how we stay sane. They paused. But you live in constant storm. How do you function? How do you not go mad? Thought about the question. She thought about all the nights she had cried for her brother while also smiling at happy memories. She thought about the fear she felt before every mission and the hope that pushed her forward anyway. "I do not know," she admitted. "It is simply what we are. We hold everything together because we must, because giving up is not in our nature." Stared at her for a long time. Then very softly they asked the same question had asked before. "What are you?" And once again had no answer. 3 days had passed since collapsed. The young seeker was recovering slowly, but they had asked to speak with. Against all advice, had agreed to allow the meeting. Walked through the corridors of the Harmony Accord with at her side. 2 guards followed behind them, keeping careful distance. The station was quieter now. Word had spread about what happened, and everywhere went, aliens watched her with strange eyes. Some looked curious. Many looked afraid. "Are you sure about this?" asked quietly. "Might blame you for what happened." "Perhaps they should," replied. "I was the cause of their pain, even if I did not mean to be." They reached a small room near the medical bay. It was designed for private conversations, with soft lights and comfortable seats. Was already there, sitting by a window that showed distant stars. The young seeker looked different than before. Their confidence was gone. They seemed smaller somehow, more fragile. But when they saw enter, they did not show fear, only curiosity. "Leave us," said to the guards. "I wish to speak with her alone." The guards hesitated, did not move. "It is safe," added. "I know now that she means no harm. Her mind is dangerous, but she is not." Slowly the guards left, stayed at the door, unwilling to leave completely. Nodded to him, telling him it was okay, then walked forward and sat across from. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They simply looked at each other, 2 beings from different worlds trying to understand something neither had expected. "I am sorry," said finally, "for what happened to you. I never wanted to cause pain." Tilted their head. "I know, I felt your heart before everything else. There is no cruelty in you, no desire to hurt." They paused. "That made it worse somehow. You were not attacking me. You were simply existing. And your existence was too much for me to hold." Explained some of what you experienced. "They said my mind was like an ocean." "Many oceans," corrected, "all flowing into each other, all storming at once." They looked down at their pale hands. "I have read 10,000 minds, species from across the galaxy. Some were smart, some were strange, some were even a little frightening, but none of them were like yours." Leaned forward. "What makes us so different?" Was quiet for a long time. When they spoke again, their voice was soft with wonder. "You feel everything at the same time. For emotions come one at a time. We feel happy, then we feel sad, then we feel afraid. Each feeling has its place, its moment. We process one before moving to the next." They looked up at, "But you hold them all together, joy and grief, love and anger, fear and hope, all burning at once, all fighting for attention, yet somehow staying balanced. Is that so unusual?" "It is impossible," said firmly. "It should destroy you. The weight of so much feeling all at once should tear your mind apart, yet it does not. You survive, you function, you even thrive." Their voice dropped to a whisper. "How?" Thought about the question. She thought about her life, about all the moments of joy and sorrow that had shaped her. She thought about her brother's death, the worst pain she had ever known. She thought about the love she still carried for him, bright and warm despite the grief. "I do not know how to explain it," she admitted. "It is simply how we are. Humans learn to carry heavy things. We learn to keep walking even when our hearts are breaking. We learn to hope even when everything seems lost." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small photograph. It was old and worn, the edges soft from years of handling. It showed a young boy with a bright smile, standing beside a younger. "This is my brother," she said, holding it where could see. "His name was, our parents named us both with similar sounds. He died when I was 15 years old, a sickness that could not be cured." Looked at the photograph. "You carry his image with you." "Always. He has been gone for 20 years, but I think of him every day. The grief is still there, it never fully goes away, smiled sadly. But so is the love, so are the happy memories. When I look at this picture, I feel both at once. Sadness for what I lost, joy for what I had. They exist together inside me. That is what I felt, said slowly. When I touched your mind, that is what pulled me under. The grief was like a weight dragging me down, but the love was like fire, burning so bright I could not look away. And they were tied together, one feeding the other, growing stronger over time. They shook their head. I could not understand how you survived such things. We do not always survive, admitted. Sometimes the weight is too heavy. Sometimes humans break under the pressure of their own hearts. She put the photograph away. But most of us learn to carry it. We learn to let the grief make the love stronger. We learn to let the fear make our courage sharper. Our pain becomes our power. Reached out slowly, carefully. They touched his hand with one pale finger. This time they did not try to read her mind. They simply touched her, feeling the warmth of her skin. I felt something else, said quietly. Beneath all the chaos, beneath the storm of your emotions, there was something at the very core of your being, something I have never felt in any other species. What was it? Stubbornness, said, a refusal to give up. No matter how much pain you carried, no matter how heavy the weight, there was a voice inside you that kept saying one thing: keep going, keep moving, keep hopping. They pulled their hand back. It was the most terrifying and beautiful thing I have ever touched. Felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not try to hide them. Humans did not hide their feelings well, and she had stopped trying long ago. We call it many things, she said. Hope, determination, the will to survive, but I think the truest name for it is simply love. Love for life, love for each other, love for tomorrow, even when today is hard. Stood up slowly. They were still weak, but there was something new in their eyes. Understanding, perhaps, or the beginning of it. Your people are not what we thought, they said. We expected primitives, children of the stars, young and simple. Instead we found. They stopped, searching for words. What did you find? Looked at for a long moment. Then they said something that would change everything. We found a species that has learned to make strength from suffering, to build hope from despair, to carry storms inside your hearts and still walk toward the light. They bowed their head. You are not primitive, Park. You are the most powerful thing I have ever seen. Outside the window, the stars kept shining. They did not care about the troubles of small creatures. But inside that little room, two beings from different worlds had found something neither expected. Understanding. And perhaps the beginning of friendship. The council chamber existed only in light. Holographic projections filled a vast space, showing the faces of 12 high arbiters who ruled the collective. They had gathered from across the galaxy to decide humanity's fate. Stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by glowing figures that towered above her. Was present in person, standing nearby with, who had insisted on attending despite their weakness. From Earth, Ambassador Bay appeared as a hologram, his face calm but his eyes sharp with worry. The head of the council was called. They were ancient even by standards, their skin so pale it was almost white, their 4 arms moving slowly as if tired by centuries of use. When they spoke, the entire chamber fell silent. We are here to discuss the humans, said. A young species has touched our seeker and caused great harm. This has never happened before. We must decide what it means. Another arbiter spoke. This one was called and their voice was cold. What it means is obvious. The humans are dangerous. Their minds are weapons that can disable our most gifted telepaths. They should be quarantined, isolated, kept far from the civilized galaxy. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many holograms nodded in agreement. Ambassador stepped forward. With respect, Arbiter, we are not weapons. What happened to was an accident. Park did nothing aggressive. She simply allowed her mind to be read as requested. And in doing so, she nearly destroyed one of our own, replied. Intent does not matter when the result is devastation. A storm does not mean to kill, but it kills all the same. Then should we punish storms? Asked. Should we fear rain because it can flood? Humans cannot change what we are. Our minds work the way they work. We cannot make ourselves less, ourselves. Turn to address the full council. That is precisely the problem. They cannot control their own thoughts. They cannot contain their emotions. Every human is a potential threat to any telepathic species they encounter. How can we allow such beings into our community? Raised a hand for silence. They said, "You experienced the human mind directly. You suffered its effects. Tell us what you found." Walked slowly to the center of the chamber. They were still weak and watched them with worry. But the young seeker's voice was strong when they spoke. "I found chaos," began. "The human mind is unlike anything I have touched before. Emotions exist in layers, all present at once. Thoughts flow in many directions simultaneously. There is no order, no structure as we understand it." They paused. "When I entered, I expected a simple stream. Instead, I fell into a raging ocean." Nodded grimly. "As I said, dangerous." "But that is not all," continued. They turned to face directly. "You asked what I found in the human mind. You expect me to say I found violence, hatred, evil. I did not." They looked around the chamber at all the watching faces. "I found pain, great pain from losses and hardships I cannot imagine. I found fear, deep and constant, fear of death and loss and failure. But beneath all of that, at the very heart of the storm, I found something else." "What?" asked. "Love," said simply. "A fierce, burning love that refuses to die. A desperate hope that survives even the darkest moments. And a stubbornness, a will to keep living and keep trying no matter how much it hurts." They turned back to face the council. "The humans are not dangerous because they wish to harm us. They are overwhelming because they feel everything so deeply. Their hearts are too big for their bodies. Their spirits burn too bright for their fragile forms." Silence filled the chamber, even had nothing to say. An older voice spoke. It was Elder, the most ancient of all the arbiters. They had been silent until now, listening and watching. "Tell me," Young said, "in all you saw, in all the chaos and storm and fire, did you find cruelty at the core of humanity?" Shook their head. "No, Elder. I found a species that has learned to survive by caring deeply. They protect what they love with a ferocity that is almost frightening, but they do not seek to harm others. They only wish to live and be loved in return." Nodded slowly. "And you, Park, what do you say for your species?" Stepped forward. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "We are young, we are messy. Our minds are chaotic, and our hearts are heavy with feelings we cannot always control." She looked around at the towering holograms. "But we are not evil. We came to the stars hopping to find friends, not enemies. We came hopping to learn and grow and become part of something greater than ourselves." She thought about her brother. She thought about all the losses humanity had suffered throughout history, wars and plagues and disasters. And yet humans kept building, kept hopping, kept reaching for the stars. "We carry storms inside us," she said, "but we also carry light. Every human you meet will have both. We cannot separate them. The storm and the light are one thing, born from the same source." She straightened her shoulders. "We cannot change what we are. We can only offer who we are, messy and complicated and sometimes overwhelming, but reaching out in friendship all the same." Ambassador spoke again. "We do not ask you to trust us completely. Trust must be earned over time, but we ask for a chance. Let us prove ourselves through our actions. Let us show you that the chaos inside us can be a force for good." The council murmured among themselves. The debate continued for a long time, argued for isolation. Others spoke in favor of caution. Some remained silent, uncertain what to think. Finally, raised their hand again. "We will vote. The question before us is simple. Shall humanity be granted provisional membership in the galactic community, or shall they be quarantined until further assessment?" One by one, the arbiters cast their votes. Watched, her hands clasped tightly together. Beside her, stood ready to protect her, though there was nothing he could protect her from here. The count was close, too close. Several arbiters voted for quarantine, several voted for acceptance, back and forth the numbers shifting. Finally, Elder cast the deciding vote. "I vote for acceptance," said. "Not because I am certain the humans are safe, I am not, but because I have lived for many centuries and I have learned that the most dangerous thing in the universe is not chaos, it is stagnation. Our people have become too ordered, too careful, too afraid of anything we cannot control." They looked at with ancient eyes. "Perhaps these humans, with their storms and their light, will teach us something we have forgotten. Perhaps their chaos is exactly what we need." Announced the result. Humanity is granted provisional membership. They will be watched carefully. Any sign of aggression will be met with immediate response, but they are welcome among us. Felt tears running down her face. She did not try to hide them. Behind her, she heard let out a breath he had been holding. After the council ended, approached privately. The elder moved slowly, but their eyes were sharp and curious. "Young human," they said, "I wonder something about your people." "What is that, elder?" Was quiet for a moment. Then they said, "We have achieved order, peace, stability. Our minds are calm, our emotions controlled. We thought this was strength." They looked at with something that might have been sadness. "But watching you, feeling the echoes of what experienced, I wonder if we have lost something important. I wonder if your chaos is not weakness, but a strength we threw away long ago in our quest for order." Did not know what to say, so she simply bowed her head in respect. Turned and walked away, leaving standing alone in the empty chamber. Outside, the stars kept shining, and somewhere among them humanity had found its place. 1 month had passed since the Council's decision. The galaxy had changed, though slowly. Humanity was now part of something larger, a community of species that stretched across the stars, and on a small research station called New Bridge, humans and were learning to work together. The station floated in orbit around a quiet moon, far from major traffic lanes. It had been built specifically for this purpose, to study human minds and help the two species understand each other. Had been assigned as the human team leader. Had volunteered to join them. Had questioned that decision many times. Why would they come back? He asked one morning as they walked through the station's corridors. After what happened, why would want to be near humans again? "I asked them the same thing," replied. "They said they saw something in my mind that they want to understand, something they want to learn." "What?" Smiled. "Courage, I think, or maybe hope. They are not sure themselves." The research was going well. Lee, the team's psychologist, had become the bridge between species. She spent her days explaining human emotions to fascinated scientists, drawing diagrams, and using metaphors to describe things that could not easily be put into words. "Think of it like music," was saying now, standing before a group of researchers. "Minds play one note at a time, beautiful, clear, pure, but human minds play chords, many notes at once, some of them clashing but creating something richer and more complex." A researcher raised their hand. "But how do you keep the notes from becoming noise? How do you prevent the chord from turning into chaos?" Thought about it. "Practice, I suppose. We grow up learning to balance our emotions. It is not easy. Sometimes we fail. But over time, we learn to make the chaos into harmony." Watched from the back of the room, feeling proud of her team. They had come so far. Fear was slowly turning into curiosity. Distrust was becoming respect. But not everything was peaceful. The alarm came without warning. Red lights flashed throughout the station. A calm voice announced that there was a problem in the reactor section. Something about a coolant leak, a rising temperature, a danger of explosion. Ran toward the control room with beside her. They found already there, pulling up data on the screens. "How bad is it?" demanded. His face was pale. "Bad. The reactor is overheating. If we do not fix it within 20 minutes, the whole station could be destroyed." "Can we shut it down?" "The controls are locked. There is a manual override, but it is inside the reactor chamber. Looked at her with frightened eyes. Someone has to go in and activate it by hand. The reactor chamber was filling with radiation. Anyone who entered would be exposed to dangerous levels. The protective suits they had might buy time, but not much. Made her decision immediately. I will go. No, grabbed her arm. You are the team leader. You are too important. That is exactly why I should go. I cannot ask others to take risks I would not take myself. Then I will go with you. Before they could argue further, stepped forward. The young seeker had been standing quietly in the corner, watching the chaos unfold. Let me help, said. I can sense the energy patterns inside the reactor. I can guide you to the override faster than your instruments can. Shook his head. It is too dangerous. The radiation affects more severely than humans. I know, looked at with calm eyes, but I have learned something from watching your people. You run toward danger to save others. You feel fear, but you act anyway. They straightened their thin shoulders. I want to be like that. I want to know what it feels like to have that kind of courage. There was no time for more debate, and suited up and entered the reactor chamber together. The heat hit them immediately. Even through the protective suits, could feel it pressing against her skin. Alarms screamed from every direction. The air itself seemed to shake with the power of the failing reactor. Pointed with one thin hand. There, the override is behind that panel. They moved quickly but carefully. Radiation warnings flashed on their suit displays. Reached the panel first, pulling it open with strong hands. Inside was a mess of wires and controls. Which one? He shouted over the noise. Closed their eyes, reaching out with their mind to sense the energy flows. The blue circuit, third from the left, but it must be held down for 30 seconds while the system resets. Reached for it but stopped him. I will do it, you two get out. That is an order, go. He hesitated for only a moment. Then he grabbed and pulled them toward the exit, watched them go, then turned back to the panel. She found the blue circuit. She pressed it down. The reactor groaned around her, metal screaming under stress. Her suit's radiation alarm was screaming too, telling her she was absorbing too much, telling her to run. She stayed. 20 seconds. The heat was becoming unbearable. She could feel her skin burning inside the suit. 25 seconds. The reactor's groan was changing pitch. Was it working? 30 seconds. The lights turned green. The alarm stopped. The temperature began to drop. Let go of the circuit and fell to her knees. Her body was shaking. Her vision was blurring, but she was alive. The station was saved. Came back for her. He lifted her in his arms and carried her out of the chamber, running through corridors that were no longer dangerous. Behind them, the reactor settled into silence. Later woke up in the medical bay, was beside her, monitoring her condition. The radiation damage was treatable. She would recover fully within a week. Came to visit her. The ambassador stood beside her bed, looking down at her with strange eyes. You ran into fire, said quietly. You knew it might kill you. You went anyway. The station would have been destroyed, replied. Her voice was weak but steady. Everyone would have died. But you could have sent someone else. You could have ordered others to go. Shook her head. That is not who I am. That is not who we are. Was silent for a long moment. Then they said, I think I am beginning to understand your people. You feel everything so deeply that you cannot stand aside when others are in danger. Your own fear means nothing compared to your need to protect. Something like that, agreed. Bowed their head. It is terrifying and it is beautiful. That evening came to sit with. The young seeker looked different now. There was something in their eyes that had not been there before. A spark, perhaps. A small flame. I felt it, said softly. When you stayed behind, when you held that circuit down, I felt your fear through the walls. It was enormous. It filled the whole station. I was very scared, admitted. But you stayed, despite the fear you stayed, reached out and touched her hand. That is what I saw in your mind during the seeking, that stubborn light that refuses to die. I wanted to understand it. Now I think I do. What do you understand? Smiled. It was a human expression, one they had learned from watching the team. You are not brave because you have no fear. You are brave because you feel fear more deeply than anyone and you act anyway. Your emotions do not weaken you. They make you unstoppable. Squeezed their hand gently. Perhaps that is something we can teach each other. You can show us how to find peace in our storms. We can show you how to find strength in your calm. Nodded, I would like that. Outside the medical bay window, stars were shining. They were the same stars that had watched over the Harmony Accord a month ago when everything began. They would keep shining for billions of years more, long after humans and were gone. But right now, in this moment, two species were learning something important. They were learning that differences did not have to divide, that chaos and order could exist together, that the universe was big enough for storms and stillness both. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity had found not just a place in the galaxy, but a purpose. To remind others that the most powerful force in the universe was not technology or telepathy or ancient wisdom. It was simply the stubborn, burning will to love and hope and never, ever give up.